What's up, everyone? It's LaShar Binkley, and of course, this is Rockets Field Podcast. And on today's Rockets Field Report, I will be breaking down why this version of Dillon Brooks, the FIBA version of Dillon Brooks, is the best version the Rockets can get next season. As we know, the FIBA tournament is actually going on right now. The Team USA actually just won their game today, so they moved on to the semifinals. Team Canada had a huge win against Spain recently, and they are also still in the FIBA tournament. They play again tomorrow against Slovenia, and of course Luka Doncic. So that should be very entertaining. But in today's episode, I'm gonna be talking about Dillon Brooks' play so far in the FIBA tournament and how that would be the perfect version of Dillon Brooks the Rockets can get if they get the FIBA version of Dillon Brooks this upcoming season. So stick around and let's get into it.
I think that's why they gave me or created this villain roles because I play aggressive, I play physical, and then I do a little trash talking as well.
And it seems like you embrace this, though.
Yeah, I would say that my teammates, they would love me, but anybody else, they would hate me.
The Houston Rockets, of course, will look completely different next season. Of course, it starts with their new floor general, Fred VanVleet. They also made another big splash by bringing in, at times controversial, but also the defensive lockdown ability of forward Dillon Brooks. We all know he's coming on a 4-year deal. And it was kind of a surprise deal because his stock was at an all-time low after Brooks and Memphis Grizzlies were knocked out by the Lakers in last year's playoff. Many people didn't think that Dillon Brooks would be able to get a substantial raise from his current salary, let alone a 4-year guaranteed contract. But he did get that from the Houston Rockets, which did raise some eyebrows. Brooks was coming off a season where he had a remarkable over 248,000 worth of fines last season for multiple infractions, including pushing a cameraman. He got into it with Donovan Mitchell. That resulted in a fine. He missed some media availabilities that resulted in fines. And just the fact that he was second in the league in technicals last year, that also led to him also getting fined, because of course you get fines for every single technical foul that you get in NBA. And he was second only to Draymond Green last season, who had 21, which is not exactly a list that you want to be on. Brooks, however, in Brooks' fashion, wasn't too concerned with the fines. When Dillon Brooks was asked about losing $248,000 through fines and suspensions last season, he said, quote, "It's just paper," unquote, which you kind of wouldn't expect anything else from Dillon Brooks, especially when it comes to how he plays on the court. Of course, that doesn't even include the well-publicized back and forth he got into with LeBron James last season that many thought led to LeBron James elevating his game even more in the closeout game as Lakers closed out Memphis last season as they moved on to the Western Conference Finals. But there's also good things when it comes to Dillon Brooks, things that the Rockets saw, obviously, and that's why they wanted to bring in Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks made his first all-defensive team last year as he made the second team along with Bam Adebayo, OG Anunoby, Draymond Green, and Derek White. So, yes, you're getting a lot of the on-court antics, sometimes off-court antics from Dillon Brooks, but you're also getting one of the best defensive players in the league last year, something the Rockets absolutely need because the last 3 years the Rockets have been at the bottom of the league when it comes to overall defense, and they haven't really had a defensive stopper since PJ Tucker in his prime when the Rockets were consistently winning the division, winning 50 plus games. They haven't had a defense stop like that in a long time. They definitely haven't had one in the last few years. Even with Eric Gordon on the roster, that's not really Eric Gordon's main thing when you're talking about Eric Gordon. So now you have a Dillon Brooks, who is one of the best wing defenders in the NBA, someone you can put on the other team's best guard, best forward, and somebody that's gonna. Hey, nobody can stop everybody, especially superstars, one-on-one every single time. But you do need somebody that can at least hold their own, and that's definitely something that Dillon Brooks gives you. I mean, as you see in this one play right here, where he's guarding Steph Curry, a lot of people will not be able to stay with Steph Curry like this, especially when he gets it going, when he's dribbling between his legs, when he's trying to get to that 3-point line. A lot of people are not going to be able to stay with Steph Curry. And in this play, you see Dillon Brooks is able not only to stay with Steph Curry, but he also blocks his shot. Like I said, you're not expecting that every single time, but you need players like this on your team, especially a team like the Rockets who lack um, defensive stoppers. And to have somebody like that, and knowing that you don't necessarily have a big man down low that's going to block a lot of shots, you need somebody to be able to play that wing defense that doesn't back down to anybody, whether it's LeBron James or Steph Curry. You definitely need somebody like that on your team. So, yes, it's some of the negative stuff I talked about earlier. Also, he did struggle the last 2 seasons from 3-point range. He only shot 30% a couple seasons ago. Last year, he only shot 32% from 3-point range. So, yes, there are some negatives when you bring in Dillon Brooks, but the Dillon Brooks we've seen in the FIBA tournament is the exact Dillon Brooks that the Rockets need next season. During the FIBA tournament so far, Dillon Brooks is averaging 10.4 points and is shooting a remarkable, especially for Dillon Brooks, 53.8% from 3-point range. Now, yes, it's on low attempts, it's only 2.6 a game, but the reason why that's not a negative is because a lot of people complain, especially Memphis Grizzlies fans, that he took way too many shots last year, that Memphis Grizzlies depended on him way too much on the offensive end, and he would take a lot of ill-advised shots that he shouldn't take. So the fact that he only took 2.6 3-pointers so far in the tournament in 5 games is actually a positive, because it seems like he's realizing, like, hey, I'm not necessarily a knockdown 3-point shooter. I need to focus on the other parts of my game. And he's doing that. And there's 3 points he is taking. He's shooting 53.8% from 3-point range, which is great for anybody, especially for Dillon Brooks. Not only that, yes, he's had a couple of bad games during this span during the FIBA tournament where he only scored 2 and 6 points. But even the game he scored only 2 points, a game they were upset by Brazil, he was actually only took two. He was actually only 0 for 1 from 3-point range, which again is a good thing because he's not out there forcing shots. But he had probably his best game of his FIBA career last game when they knocked out Spain and was able punch their ticket into the Olympics coming up in 2024. Dillon Brooks had 22 points, and he also had this dagger 3 to close out Spain in the last few seconds of the game. But not only that, but you also look at the other plays before that. He hit the 3 to actually tie it with a little over a minute left, and he made a huge defensive play on the other end that forced a turnover. So not only did he have the dagger 3, but he also had plays before that. He pretty much was the biggest reason the last 2 minutes why they won that game versus Spain, which was a nip and tuck game all the way down to the end. So that last play that you saw, that's exactly the type of things the Rockets need from Dillon Brooks. Hitting a clutch 3, not scared to take the shot, even though he's not necessarily a 3-point shooter. And then on the other end, he does everything that you want from a defensive player, running all over the court, guarding every player he can that's in front of him, and then forcing a turnover. That's exactly the type of play that you need from Dillon Brooks last year. You need great defense, continue to play his great defense, and you also need a player that can at times at least be able to hit the 3-point shot. Because like times last year, teams were game planning on leaving him open and clogging up the lane and keeping Ja Morant and Desmond Bane and Triple J out of the paint. They clogged up paint, left Dillon Brooks wide open. So you need Dillon Brooks to definitely shoot at least 34, 35% from 3 this year. So if you're able to get this version of Dillon Brooks, the fear version of Dillon Brooks, where he hasn't been in any trouble, not getting technicals, hasn't been causing any issue, any disturbance. He's been playing hard. He's still been talking his noise like he always does, but he's doing it in a way where he's not disturbing the team and taking away from the team by his antics on the court. And that's the exact type of Dillon Brooks you want. You want him to continue with the intensity, but you don't want him to be out there causing a scene to where he's becoming a distraction, something that he did at times become with the Memphis Grizzlies. So at the end of the day, if you're going to talk your talk, you got to back it up. And Dillon Brooks has done that so far. He's not going to ever be a high scorer. He's not going to be a 20-point a game scorer. You don't need him to be a 20-point a game scorer. You need him to do exactly what he's doing now, averaging 10, 11 points, playing lockdown defense, and he doesn't have to shoot 50% from 3 because nobody's going to do that. Well, at least Dillon Brooks is not going to do that. But you do need him not to be shooting 30% from 3-point range and becoming a liability on the offensive end. Like I said, if he can shoot the 35% from three, 36% from three, that's the optimal Dillon Brooks that you absolutely need this upcoming season. So that's why I say having the FIBA version of Dillon Brooks next season, the Rockets would be ecstatic with that. And that 4-year guaranteed deal where it's a little over $20 million a year, the Rockets would absolutely take that 10 times out of 10 if they can get the FIBA version of Dillon Brooks that we have been seeing these last 5 games. Like I mentioned earlier, they'll play again tomorrow, so we'll see, if he's able to continue this good play, especially against a tough team like Slovenia, even though really it's really a tough team because of Luka Doncic. So, and I have to imagine Dillon Brooks will be guarding Luka a lot this upcoming game. So that'd be really interesting to watch. But again, if the Rockets can get this version, the FIBA version of Dillon Brooks next season, that would definitely be a win-win. And that would be something that Rockets fans would definitely be really happy with. Again, I appreciate everybody that supports us. We know it hasn't been a lot happening lately, so that's why it hasn't been a lot of content coming up. But we are ramping up, getting ready for training camp coming up, media day before training camp, beginning of next month. I will be out at media day and also training camp. So of course, the closer we get to training camp, we will be definitely bringing out some videos. I will be reporting from at the time we think it's going to be Louisiana, where they're going to be having a training camp, Lake Charles. So we definitely have some podcasts coming out that week. And again, we appreciate all the support. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, so we continue to bring you great content. And I always appreciate everybody that comes by and checks out the Rockets Field podcast. And we also appreciate you checking out today's Rockets Field Report.